September 24 soul story. If you have a sun, rising or moon in the sign, this is your reading. And this is Romy. Thanks so much for taking the time to tune in and join me on the channel. We're going to open up this month with the energy of the Eight of Swords. I think you need time and space this month to work through where you're at. And sometimes we need to ask ourselves, is the stress coming from doing too much or from doing the wrong things? September certainly affords you a chance to do some tidying up and some clearing out and really figuring out in that process like what stays and what goes. We open up the month with Pluto re-entering into Capricorn. Through till November 19th, it's like this final clear out energy. You're getting ready to have that lifted from your shoulders. And so the next few weeks are really mindfully going back over this cycle from back to 2008, right? How has it been impacting you? How has it affected you? And there's so much about September asking for this integration. You're weaving so much of the healing now, Aries, between what feels like the sort of mundane ways, the mundane moments that you have to show up in life, and also some of the magic and the mysticism that's happened in the unfolding of your pathway. Now, Uranus also goes retrograde in Taurus on the same day, the first of the month. Whenever we are directed inwards, we are really processing this energy in a way that helps bring about a new dialogue with our higher self. And Uranus wants to start a revolution, change maker energy. So you are definitely gearing up. But as I said, you need time and space just to really listen to that voice and make sure that what that next step is for you is really the right one for you. And it hasn't been overly influenced or interfered with by external realities, energies. And it's really easy right now to get kind of caught up in different tidal waves. There's so much information, and that information is really polarizing. It's also conflicting and contradictory, and so really settling in to have that internal conversation is where September is going to support you. Now I think there is a beautiful intensity about this month, because I think there's an opportunity to have that rebalancing experience. We've got Equinox coming up later in the month. But the intensity is just because it's still driving us toward where we're supposed to be. You'll have felt in the course of 2024 that, your pathways are, being directed. That hand of fate sort of stepped in and maybe picked you up and said, not there. And you're now sort of really coming to terms with where you're at. We've got a few months left of the year, and there's, that feeling, if you're not careful, of moving into the urgency and the panic. It's not what September's about. The new moon arriving on the 2nd gives an opportunity to start filling in the blanks. You've got plans that you're trying to put into motion, but we do have a Mars and Neptune square, so there's a little bit of doubt or uncertainty. Now, you've got the Eight of Water coming through here, so either the contemplation or the reality of having to move on, let go, walk away from something is very front and center in your mind right now. But some of that energy between Mars and Neptune just may obscure things, and that would be making sense why we have a little bit of that stress trigger point of the Eight of Air showing up around that time as well. Nonetheless, I want you to see this first few days of September as quite critical. On the 3rd, we've got Venus conjunct with the South Node in Libra, your 7th house, and you're reflecting deeply on past situations, particularly around relationships, love, romantic relationships especially, and there's almost an opportunity to find some closure and to draw a line. And so I also see for some of you that Eight of Water is actually helping with the closure. So this might have been something that you actually left behind a long time ago, but it's only now that healing and that release is ready. You're kind of ready to embrace it, because there's an awareness that you have to move on. Like, there are new things to be focused upon, to direct your energy and invest in, and I think we need to be free of something. I do think that the energy that comes through once you're sort of moving into the mid-month, feels much more liberated and supportive and sort of getting on with the tasks. You know, we're working in Virgo season. That sixth house energy wants us to revisit some rituals and routines, to be very mindful as well of our physicality, our health and well-being. And, you know, if the things that we're doing are actually helping us or harming us. But I feel like it sort of takes that first week to sort of come up against some of these astrological conversations that are asking lots of things of you, you know, for you to just be able to put some sense of order in your own mind. And when we arrive on the 14th, I want to call out that Venus is going to be trining with Jupiter, right, in air signs. So Venus in Libra, Jupiter in Gemini. And you're set to see some really positive messages coming through in and around this date. What does it represent? It's basically where there's opportunity for growth and expansion. Now, those messages coming through either in letters and emails and text messages. You know, it's almost like feeling like the written word shows up. But there's a feel-good factor attached to it. So I think there's also a realization that, you know what, I did the right thing, because it feels like the hard step, the hard conversation, the thing that you've been avoiding or don't want to do, you know, when followed through, is then quickly backed up with something that sort of lifts your spirit. Now, we've got the 10 of Earth coming in here. For me, it's just talking about the fact that you'll feel much more stable and secure. I think that really matters, because some of the bigger important things that you're contemplating within your own life, and perhaps, you know, you're having critical conversations in regards to with family especially, you know, you need to feel quite confident and have that rising sense of belief and self-esteem to be able to carry something through. So I like this mid-month energy in terms of what it's showcasing to you. It feels like it's awash with opportunity. Of course, how you receive opportunity and whether you feel you're in a position to say yes to that, you know, comes down to your individual mindset and circumstances at the time. But, you know, you would do pay to really take some space, as I said, time and space in September, to ensure that you're giving yourself all of the mindfulness tools, the sacred spiritual tools that get you in the right energy of alignment. Because when this does come along, you want to be seeing it through the right lens. I do want to say, you know, maybe around particularly the start of September and the end of September, you might be feeling like interactions are coming along with people where you feel they can't hear you. You know, they are looking at something from a distorted perspective, and no amount of pushing or trying to reposition or tell them and tell them and tell them again is really going to help. So I also think that there's going to be this need for you to either park something or to let it go for now until that individual has moved further down their own pathway and journey. You know, I'm not saying that they're not supposed to be a part of your soul story right now, but what I definitely feel is that there's something preventing or blocking them from able to truly hear how you're trying to say something. Like, your message is just not getting through in the way that it ought to be, and that isn't any fault of you. I think you're explaining and articulating that correctly. I think it's just where they're at, so keep that in mind. Now we've got the 2 of Earth coming in, a choice and a decision to make, and you know, you're going to have to be a little bit flexible in regards to which option you decide to move forward with. In some ways you might be looking at something and thinking, you know what, neither of these are really ideal, and yet I'm going to have to decide, you know, how I progress with this. I think that, you know, if you can move forward with a mindset that says, do you know what, I need to just be a little bit flexible in the shorter term, very quickly I'm going to get what I need, and then I'm going to be in a better position moving forward to actually improve these circumstances. So if you're bringing the confidence and the belief of the bigger vision of where you're trying to get to, it almost feels like if there's a short-term temporary fix, almost like a band-aid situation that needs to be embraced, right? It's not always going to be this way, Aries. It just feels like there's something that's going to help you to get from A to B right now, okay? And rather that, and perhaps it not be absolutely ideal, but still it holds the promise of progress and possibility, and you're continuing to move forward. I think that's more important than sort of staying where you're at and kind of finding that any stagnant energy is just starting to strip away some of your faith or your trust in the things that are going on for you at this moment, right? Now, we have a full moon lunar eclipse, a north node, arriving in Pisces on the 17th. So this brand new storyline emerging, right? You've been working intimately with the eclipse in your sign. And, you know, this is going to be revealing something new for you. Remember, this dance between Pisces and Virgo we're going to be enjoying is talking to us about fact versus fantasy, logic versus intuition. And this particular lunar eclipse wants to expose something particularly connected to your healing. We've got temperance coming through here. Maybe it is all around balance, how you find that state of balance in your life, and maybe being acutely aware of bigger imbalances that need to be addressed. Now, these are things, again, that might not be feasible for you to deal with completely in the here and the now, but over the course of the next couple of years, there's going to be continuing revelations that come up, and a need for these transformational experiences to get you to a place that is going to improve that reality for you. Pisces also wants to instill in the North Node this deeper faith and trust in the spiritual journey that you're on. And so there's also something really, I think, quite poignant, quite beautiful, albeit quite intense, that's shown or revealed to you in and around this moon, you know, that perhaps also helps you to see yourself in a new light, perhaps how you're expressing yourself, the energy that you bring to situations. And that's a deeper opportunity for self-discovery. You know, I think it could put you in a place where, again, you want to maybe just step back and give yourself some time and space to really think about, is this what I want? Is this the right move for me? Or is this conversation that I think I want to have actually helpful? This is an interesting one. So be aware around that moon, like, you know, you might have been pushing or really driving something because there's like this need to know, this urgency, this kind of you know, desire to get to the truth of the heart of something. But I want to say to you, like, what is that going to do for you? Like, is that something that's really serving your highest good, or is there a different invitation that you could have? Is there a different directive coming from your higher self? That's going to be something to sit with around that moon, okay, coming in on the 17th. Now, the 22nd delivers us Equinox. Venus in Scorpio arrives the same day. Quite an intense equinox, I think, this year in many ways. I always think it sort of disrupts our energy systems importantly, but it can lead to the just sort of feeling of being a little bit out of sorts. I think though what it is doing is it's showing you very clearly, this is what I want to commit to. And I do see you kind of coming from a perspective of like, I don't feel like I know enough about this. Whatever this is, it really matters because it feels like it's kind of connecting the dots and it's building the bridges to get you from where you are to where you're meant to be. So pay very close attention to where you're feeling super directed. Now, around that time, you might have some really interesting offers or proposals, or you know, somebody inviting you, or there's some sort of sense of like trying to get you to participate in a certain type of experience. There might be some reluctance or hesitancy on your part. It might be a timing thing. It might be a resource thing. You know, you might just not have the time, the money, the, you know, the energy levels. But I think it's kind of like, you're going to want to put it in the pending file. There's something of value here. So be mindful of the sort of conversations that are coming through around that time. Remember, when we move into Libra energy from the 22nd, you know, we're in the 7th house. There's always huge shifts and changes going on in your network, going on with the people in your life. So it could be that there are new energies crossing your path around that time. And even though you may feel like they don't really have anything necessarily to bring or to add to your life, Keep the connection, keep the acquaintance. It just feels like there's something that's going to show itself in the coming weeks and months pertaining to new meetings, introductions, or just, you know, being placed in the path of someone. Now, I also want to talk about on the 29th this aspect where Mercury conjuncts with the South Node, because there are some really important lessons coming in from the past as we come toward the end of September, and particularly around conversations that have taken place, how you've communicated, how someone else has communicated. It reminds me of that quote, you know, between what is meant and not said, and what is said and not meant, most of love is lost. I think that was Khalil Gibran, but it kind of feels like there's been so much water under the bridge, but so much that's been lost in translation. And there's something really interesting about moving forward, like, you know, who do you want to be? Do you just want to be able to be in these relationships and have the type of experiences in your life where you're not holding back, you're not suppressing your voice? I think there's something that you're going to go deeper into around the end of the month in terms of self-reflection, but you might also find that there are some things that are unfolding regarding to you know, particular dynamics in your life at the moment. Even though we don't necessarily have a lot of court cards showing up, you know, I feel like your experiences and how you're interpreting them is, you know, getting a huge emphasis for September for you. But nonetheless, I do feel like there are one or two like key relationships that there's a sort of focus on in September for you, because they're being used, if you like, from spirit as a sort of mirroring exercise for you to help you with this integration piece, okay? Now remember, every time you call yourself out through the course of September, because I see you doing it frequently, you've also got to acknowledge the opposite of what exists. So if you find yourself moving into more critical, you know, judgmental, and even if you're going to the extreme to a self-loathing type of a narrative, you know, find the direct opposite experience, because that also resides within you, and it's also something that's available for you to tap into, and that you do express even though you can't see it or necessarily feel it at this moment in time. It's important. I think temperance is just saying that everything that happens through the course of September needs to be balanced up, you know. So if it's like, if you you know, if you have an over extreme in one area, try to balance it out with something else. This is the thing that I think is going to be most beneficial for you managing your energy levels and your overall well-being through the course of this period. Now, if you're new to the channel, my last 3 cards we look at in the extended version of the reading. You can join me for another 30 minutes. We'll talk about your personal question and also a relationship card for you as well. The link is below. It's a way to support my channel, and your investment really makes a difference to help me show up and do the free readings. So thank you for those of you in a position to join me. I'm just clarifying the cards to see the direction that we're going to be taking some of these messages in. A couple of court cards showing up there now for us. King of Pentacles. We have the energy of the Sun. Good. There is just that feeling of something being more secure, you know, and something to build on, something to work on. Like, I really feel that message strongly for you. 5 Swords, 4 Wands. Another temperance energy coming in here, asking you to have patience with regards to something. Easier said than done, isn't it, at times? But because I think September invites that sort of experience of a little bit of time and space, maybe you'll be okay with that, you know. Maybe you'll be like, actually, I'm quite happy to just kind of let this be for now, let it play out a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to look at Life Soul Vision, which is my own oracle deck. If you want to check out my website, romywiser.com, you're going to find these oracle cards. You're also going to find my book, Moon Musings. You can sign up for news about my new journal on the way, and also my sacred guided support this month, the Equinox ritual to help you. And we also have a lunar eclipse guided meditation. So link is below. I love that we've got Equinox showing up for you in your read. Beautiful. Alright, we're going to pull one more oracle for you, Aries. So this is to look at in the extended reading. What do we have for the month of September? stepping stones. Take the next step. Simplicity, focus. Beautiful. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you. Have a great month ahead. There's lots to work with. As I said, beautiful, intense, but Equinox helps deliver that reset. I hope you'll join me for the extended. I'll see you again next month. You take good care. Bye for now.